And he worked for the Wabash Railroad, I believe it was?
Yeah. Well, you know, he never insulted me. He just never spoke to me. He'd sit in his chair and I'd go over there, and her mother, first thing she'd do is take me to the kitchen. And but he thought I was just a snot-nosed, cocky kid because I wore one of those caps turned around with the bill in the back, you know.
That was the fad of the time, huh?
Yeah, that. And he and I never got to be real friends, but once in a while I could get him to talk about a steam engine.
Steam engine.
You know, that's, of course, back then they didn't have diesels.
I hear you.
And I said, did you ever think of building one? And I called him Mr. Schneider. I didn't call him Paw or Bill or anything.
Okay.
I was very polite to him, but he still didn't like me.
Uh-huh. So what happened now?
So I thought, well, since he says he don't have the material, I says, or anything else, I says, I'll get the material and I'll help him build it.
Now wait a second. Are you telling me that you went around all over the place to get material?
I went to every junkyard within 50 to 100 miles of Decatur, Illinois.
And you went and got all the brass and everything?
I got the brass, the tubes, the pipe, the iron, the steel.
And where did you move all that stuff to?
I put it all, he didn't know it, but I put it down. Their basement steps went down like this, and then there was a space behind the basement steps that was walled off. And I took all of this stuff I collected before he got home from work, and I took it and I stored it down there where he couldn't see it.
So tell us the story about what happened when you finally surprised them and all that.
Well, the biggest surprise he got, he couldn't believe all of that material I had.
No, actually what happened was you told me that you guys were sitting around the house and you didn't tell them about that stuff yet.
No, I never told him.
And you were sitting together and you turned to him and you asked them, you know.
I just asked him to come down the basement. There's something I wanted to show him.
Okay. And you guys went down to the basement together, and what happened?
And then I showed him all that material. He says, what is all of that junk for? I says, you and I are going to build a steam engine.
Oh, what was the expression on his face then?
And he says, I can do everything but the welding, and there's a lot of it.
And what did you say?
And I said, well, that's no problem. I can weld.
Oh my! And what was Papa's expression at that point?
I got that open and about that wide, and the first time I heard anything out of the ordinary from him, he said, when can we start?
And when did you start?
The very next night.
And how long did it take you to do it?
Oh, I would say it took close to 18 months.
And you were actually created a real steam engine. We have pictures of it because to this day in Decatur, they're still riding that steam engine at the park. My question to you is, once you got that finished and it was completely done, how did Daddy treat you after that?
Well, once we started on that, we were buddy-buddy. He found out I wasn't just another one of these smart-ass, snot-nosed kids, that I had something between my ears besides running around.
And when you finished the steam engine, tell the story about how you got it to the park.
Now, the biggest job was getting it out of the basement.
It was a pretty big steam engine.
Well, we had to tear his basement steps down. And we got a buddy of mine that had a truck with a small crane on the back of it.
Okay.
And he backed it up to the front door. That's one thing I made sure. I didn't make it wider than the back door.
That was smart.
Because I knew I could get it out, but getting it through the door was another thing. Well, we just tore the basement steps down very carefully. This guy come in with his truck and a hoist, hoisted the front end of it up, and we drug it out. It rolled on its own wheels over the sill and stuff out, and he pulled it up on a flatbed trailer he had.
And you guys took it all the way over to the park.
So we took it all the way out.
Now tell the story about Pawpaw and the park and what happened when you got it there and when you put it together.
Well, what started the whole idea, one of the very few times he ever went out with his family, is we went out there and they had one of these little gasoline powered trains, you know. And he mentioned what gave me the idea was to build a steam engine.
You mean the kids at the park had an old gasoline powered?
Yeah, that part, you know, it was just something that supposedly looked like an engine, and there was a few, 3 or 4 cars on the back of it, and it was a gasoline engine that just drove around in a.
I think you told me something like Pawpaw said they should really have something really nice.
Oh, he said they call that a train? And I said, yes, and this is what gave me the idea for us to build a steam engine to replace that way. I can't tell you how many trips I made to that park, measuring the track and the width and everything, and gave him all of the exact measurements, and he still didn't know.
All right, well, start out from when you got to the park with the steam engine and what you guys did to the end when you finally left.
Well, I don't know what happened to it. As far as I know, it was gone, but you showed me.
No. I mean, the day that you finished the steam engine and you had your friend with the flatbed take it to the park.
Oh.
Start from when it started at the park to when you finally left with Pat. What happened?
Okay. I finally got enough men around here to lift that old gasoline engine off of the tracks.
Okay.
I had enough help to put the steam engine on the track, and I made sure that the couplers we made between the cars and the engine itself would match, because they were different than an ordinary coupler.
Okay.
And we got that thing on the track, and Grandpa was there and grinned from ear to ear to see it on a set of tracks, you know.
And he wasn't a man that talked very much, was he?
Oh no, he never talked much. And so we fired up the engine. I had the coal car, had coal in it, and we got the fire started, got the steam up. He said, well, those tin cans, and that's what he called the car the kids were riding in. Well, they hooked to this. I says, I made sure of that. I says, you back up to the first latch. And he got in and put that in reverse, and he heard the latches click.
Wow.
I said, Grandpa, it's all yours.
Did he take a ride around it?
He drove it around the track for 3 hours on it.
And then he got off, and what happened?
Well, I don't know. He was so happy with that engine that, and he told me, he says, you thought of things that I would have never thought of. I said, just like the couplers to hook onto them cars. I said, I would have built them naturally, and they wouldn't have been. I'd have had that went out and bought cars to match it, you know, to hook. Mm-hmm. He said, you thought of that. He finally ended up thinking I was about the smartest damn man in the world.